Hey everyone, so I am not tired today, and I will be going through the steps of adding the Zapier xAPI statements to an Alexa skill created in Storyline. So I have Storyline open, I have my xAPI planner Excel spreadsheet open, and this is where I just added all the blocks that we have created in our skill, along with the user action that I'm going to capture. And the most important parts is like the webhook name I'm going to associate with each block, the actor name, email address, verb. And so for all of the blocks, I'm going to use the same user, actor name, and email address. And for the verbs, I have a standard ADL link that we'll use. We just need to add the verb to the end. These are the verbs we're going to be using are already assigned in ADL, and then these are the hook addresses which are associated with all of these here. I think the most important part here is going to be the activity description, because this actually shows up in Watershed in our LRS. And so our LRS looks a little messy because I've been doing a lot of testing in here. But if you look at the data sources and just kind of the activities over the past few days, this is everything that we have. And you'll notice that some are named differently, like we have Alexa user here and then Amazon user ID. So this is where I've been playing around with some of the naming that I'm using. So let's now, the one I'm going to configure is this first time and no. And I'm going to use the webhook that I created, Mojito First Time Now. And let's just see where that is. So it's this one right here, so I'll just click it. And all I did was initially just created the webhooks and as placeholders, so I had URLs. So now I'm going to go to Storyline. And I am going to drag this over because this is the block I'm going to be working in. And you'll notice here I already have some information in here. However, the webhooks are not the right webhooks. So what I'm doing is I'm associating the name of the integration. And I'll just show you how we do that. Let me just start it from scratch. Didn't mean to go back that far. So I'll show you from scratch what this looks like. So I'm going to make this a little bit bigger because I am a tad blind. Okay. So I'm going to actually remove these so you can see. Remove it. I'm going to remove this one also. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to add an integration. And here I'm going to give it the name of this first time Mojito No. So there is two catches here. So I can just copy and paste this. I was just going to write it up. Let me do the easy way. And then what I'm looking at is what block is it going to link to. And so this block links to this ready to begin. And it links to, yes, so ready to begin, no. So let's do that. So let's look for it here. It's just looking. So we just associate it there. And then we're going to change this to a post. And we're just going to copy the webhook link and paste it in here. And next we have to add the JSON for this. And I already have a variable that I created, and I'll show you that in a minute. But the way you enter the body is just by entering a basic JSON, which is, and I'll give you the nomenclature, and I do have it up here in our spreadsheet also, because I want to make sure that my team is able to do this. So I will show you how to do it, and I'll make sure I add it for my team. So you start off with a curly bracket, and because we're using text, text is a character, so it needs to have quotes around it. So I just add quotes, and this is basically what's going to appear in Watershed. So it feeds the variable, but it's going to identify it by whatever I put in here. And because I want it to be something that's readable, I'm just going to put not first time Mojito. I could just do not first time, and it does need to be all together. Not first time. Let's do Mojito. I can't think right now. Oops. And then we're going to close the quote. So that's our like the name that we're going to give it, and then we're going to do a colon, and then we do the variable. And so the variable is also enclosed by the parens, and then we do curly bracket, and this is going to be no. Curly bracket, bracket, close the quotes, and then we need one more curly bracket. So this opens the entire statement, this closes the entire JSON statement. So you just need to make sure that you add them all. And so now I can just click out of it and it formats it for me. So now I am going to create another integration here. But this time I want to call it Amazon ID because I want to get the actor name, right? So I think what I called it in the other ones is going to be Mojito Actor _ actor. And this is just for identification, so I know that this block is always going to just give me the actor name. And I want it to go to that same ready to begin block. And I'm going to actually use the same webhook. And I'll show you why I'm doing that. So I'm just going to post that. Boop. And then here, again, I have to do my JSON. And it's going to be curly bracket, Amazon user ID, because that's the, I'll show you the variable in a second. And just close it, click out, and so the variables are right here. So I recommend that you copy these somewhere just so you have them when you're creating your variables. So I'm going to go back. So you notice I added the same webhook over here in Zapier because I created that webhook under this first time no. I'm going to click OK. I did this because now I need to connect my webhook to my skill. So just doing adding it to the block isn't enough. So I'm going to click play, and I'm going to pick. What am I going to pick? What does it say there? Awesome. Well, mojitos. And so here, this is where this kind of sucks because it should have the block name. But anyway, so Mojito Master. And then we're going to play. And you notice that I'm getting the webhook. And I'm going to get more samples. Let me stop this really quick and play it again. And it should pull it in. Let's stop it for a minute. Let's see what it pulled in. So first time Mojito, no. Let me just check our webhook here. Mojito actor. Check the webhook. Oh, I didn't close my curly bracket, even though I told you that was important. Okay. Haha. Okay. So now it's easy to make a mistake. So I'm going to get more samples and just click the same one again. So it's just basic troubleshooting. I'm not perfect with this, and if you run into errors, you just need to really try to work through it. So we have our second hook, which is user ID, and I'm going to select that one. So now I can create the statement. So I can click continue. Since I've already added the LRS to my I have a bunch of other statements, and I've added the LRS information, you will need to connect your LRS. But anyway, I tested mine, it's successful. So now this is the template. So now this is where I'm going to use my spreadsheet, because there's a drop down here. And so the actor name is going to be this user ID, and the email is going to be this here. So I'm just going to copy it, boop, paste it, and I'm going to skip the name and the home page because you either need the actor name and email, or actor name up here with actor account name and home page. We're just going to keep it simple. Then for this, the verb I'm going to use is responded. And so there is a drop down for the verbs. You just drop down here and just type respond, not sponsored. There you go. Respond it, click it. It'll feed it in, and I just want the verb to display as responded. So now for the activity ID, that's the URL where the verb is pulled from, and we're just using the ADL verbs. And you can find this under the verb registry. So it's registry.tincan.api.com, and that's where these links come from because these are defined. You can create your own, but I really suggest just using the standard ones. And then for the activity ID and description, go over here. So we're going to do step 1. It's always going to be step 1. And this should be no. This one up here should be yes. So step. And this has made a mojito is what we are going to have displayed. So now under the activity name, this is just a basic click, and you're grabbing the hook here, not first time mojito, and then we're grabbing what I wrote here and putting it in here in the description. And now that's all I'm gonna do. And I'm gonna leave everything. There's a ton of other things you can fill in. We don't need to fill it all in. It's really complex. So now we're gonna test it. So now it's gonna tell us, it's gonna pull in the, this is what's gonna show is Amazon user ID, and it's based on the variable that I have in storyline. So everyone gets a basic user ID. It's gonna, and because I'm the one testing it, it's not, and I don't have it published. It's just showing the email address. It will show the user ID, and it's gonna say responded is the verb. Responded no, and responded no has made a mojito or not first time. And I can really fix that later. So you can go back and edit these, which is really cool. But we're gonna test it. We're gonna send it. And if there's any errors, it's going to pop up. This one sent successfully. And you can go into your LRS and you have to refresh. Let's see if I can reload the page. And it will be in here. So now it's going to say how they responded. So responded no. Let's go down. And there it is. Responded no. That was just a few minutes ago. And so now, once you're finished, you need to turn on your Zap. And that's it. So that's the quick and dirty on how to do this. It is a little bit complex, but it's a lot easier than coding this skill because you get to go back and test it and see where there's failure points. What you can do with Storyline is that once you create a webhook like this, you can say, let me see if I can make this smaller so you can see. So I can click on actions and I can say copy this step, and I can select all the blocks that I want to copy this step to. Once I do that, I need to go into that step and change the webhook so it matches the webhook for the specific hook that I'm working in. So like if I'm working on this missing mojito step, it would I would need to use this webhook URL under the post. Otherwise, it's not going to grab it in the right block. That's the I think that's the only thing that you really need to remember. The rest is pretty straightforward. So once you have this copied in and you add it to your this is my JSON, so I do have it. But you can just copy and paste and not have to worry about having to write it over and over again. That's the beauty of using the spreadsheet, is that then I can see where are my different Zapiers being used and what block and what's the response. So it allows me to at least track this. And this is important when you're working on a project to have a spreadsheet of everything, because once it's already published, you may forget. So anyway, that's the quick and dirty on using Zapier with Storyline and Watershed to add xAPI to your Alexa skill.